Describe the last game in 5 games, Jack. Can you do better?
In 5 words?
5 more games?
No,
Okay.
please.
Not Noah, humanoid.
It's only...
Showmaker, good.
Yes, okay.
Very, very economic. That was a good one.
Well,
done.
I did say that we had a double feature, and we're of course alluding to the fact that we hope that these will be 2 of the most kind of insane back and forth games of today. Now, I didn't like the first movie. Perhaps I will like Team Liquid versus LNG.
Oh,
Who
man,
knows?
I
hope
enjoyed
so.
the first movie.
I hope
I'm
so.
sure you did.
You hater?
It had everything. This one's also going to have everything. I may not like the result. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Let's introduce our teams. We're going to start with LNG, the 3rd seed coming out of the LPL with Zika, Weiwei, Scout, GALA, and Hang. And I think the fact that Scout made it is very,
Yeah.
very important here.
There was a lot of questions about whether Scout would be making it. There was even a post that Yagao would be able to fill in for him, but he's made it. The question will just be about how much time they've had to practice together, how much they were preparing to play without him. But this is ultimately the right thing because it is the 5 players that qualified for Worlds.
Yeah.
Exactly, and he was kind of the heart and soul of the reasons why they're even here to begin with. So
Yeah.
it would have been tragic if like they couldn't play without him. But here he is with his crazy hair and all, and his play style. So I'm going to be excited to see how he performs in this game and how the team can rally around him.
Yeah, only 6 days, you know, together, I think, at most, right, in terms of the practicing. But of course, they know each other very well. Then over to Team Liquid, not the 1st seed out of the LCS, but the 2nd seed. We'll talk about why. Impact, UmTi, APA, Yeon, and CoreJJ.
Yeah, and the story very much was this split, that they had the perfect split in the regular season. They were going into playoffs with all the confidence as the best North American team, and then a Widow minion just hit the turret, the Nexus.
But let me ask you something.
Yes.
Is Gen G less of a favorite because they didn't win?
Exactly. I like the call on this one, and a lot of it was based off this man in front of you. Well, now it's CoreJJ, but it's both of them, CoreJJ and Impact.
Yeah.
Both of these guys really are the commanders in the team, and really command the early game and also how they play out lane swaps and the mid game. They're an incredibly smart team, and my focus a lot of time is going to be on Impact, who is the MVP of this split.
Yep.
Which is crazy for how long and storied his career was. When he was having his MVP interview on stage, he was talking about how that was the one award that he was really looking forward to getting, that it really meant a lot to him because yes, he's a teacher, but he's also a constant student of the game.
And this are some highlights from the final that they did play. Very competitive best of 5. Was very likely to go to Game 5 as Team Liquid almost came back in Game 4. But ultimately, the story of their split was incredible team fighting, one of the best lane swapping teams in the world, actually, with how many innovations they made throughout the split and how they really drove the meta throughout the LCS. And then it was capped off by Impact being MVP. But he was MVP in part because the team was so cohesive in their ways of playing lane swaps, and he'd always be levels ahead of the other top laner.
We just cut away from that solo kill, but he was getting a lot of them. He was getting a lot of them.
We can't show them all. You
Yeah.
know, we got to get to the film.
Fair
hey,
enough.
Let's check in with our MasterCard fan predictions for this one, where, you know, we'll see if the fans are realistic.
Maybe we got some believers out there.
Hold on, what are realistic?
I don't know if this is
okay,
actually. I
actually-
think 50-50 is realistic.
I got asked to my face by Team Liquid when I walked into the hotel the other day, what's your chance? I said 40-60.
Yeah?
So this is actually very realistic. That's a decent chance.
I'm just checking what time it is right now in Los Angeles for us to be having this kind of
Well,
result.
let me
The
ask
East Coast
you.
exists too, Raz.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
3 hours to the LA time.
Yeah, it's noon.
I'm gonna
Okay,
ask you.
there we go.
I
That's
ask
fine.
you. Like, this Team Liquid, you know, yes, they lost the finals, but it was the most hype I've ever heard about an NA team. I think maybe in 10 years coming into this World Championship, right? Is that really all deflated because of that finals?
I
Not
don't
at
think
all.
it is. I think we're hoping...
Then you should give it a 50-50.
Yeah!
At least.
It's a 50-50. If GB's not here to say it, I'm going to say
All
it.
right, casters,
Fingers
it's a
crossed.
50-50.
They can do it.
Yes.
It's a 50-50.
Yes, it is. Okay, 50-50. There you go. Perfect.
Jet's just being a Debbie Downer. Where's the NA hype? We haven't even lost yet, Jet.
Need more people like Raz who just wants to throw it out there. I mean, there is a lot of hype coming around TL. As Azale, by the way, might be cursed, but today's the day we break it, I think.
No, I have cast best of 1 wins. I
Have
just
you?
have never cast a series
Good
win for NA.
context,
So
okay.
we're fine. If
So
you're an
this is
NA
not a
fan, you're
series.
panicking, not a series. It's
Like,
fine. It's just the best of 1.
winnable.
I've cast those wins.
And hey, to be fair, like they said on the desk as well, this is a very hyped up matchup because a lot of people had questions about LNG after watching through their summer playoffs. Obviously getting wiped out by Weibo for them to make the run. They came through as 3rd seed, but again, I think there were a lot of questions about Weibo in that series, and I think it was kind of a one-off when you consider how strong the other seeds of the LPL are and how much LNG had to actually do for us to give them faith. They only just started running in summer. Before then, they were one of the worst teams in the LPL, or at least one of the most questionable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I do think that LNG, you know, has their vulnerabilities. You know, they're not a bulletproof team. They do make mistakes. Sometimes they have poor engages. Sometimes they aren't really perfectly coordinated in how they actually want to play out the game. But on the other side, TL, I think this is going to be a big test for them. There is a lot of hype around this team. I absolutely agree with Shocks. I think this is the most excited I have heard, you know, fans and analysts and stuff be about a team really since like 2016 TSM, which did not work out at all. But it is, you know, really exciting to see a team performing at this level. You know, they swept Fnatic multiple times this year in BO3 series that they ran into them. They almost beat T1 twice. You know, they were able to take games off them. So really the next step, if there is to be one moving forward, is to take a series off of an Eastern team. And I know that TL has been working incredibly hard to really develop as a squad and to try to be able to do that. So, you know, we're going to see, are they going to be able to be competitive against LNG? It is just one game. It is just a BO1. But I think people are really going to make a lot of judgments based on this first game here at Worlds.
And let's be very real as well. In this game, I feel like we're going to be expecting a lane swap as TL. It's their bread and butter, one of the best to do it as well. Let's look through as we get the Lucian ban on the other side. Aurora gone as well. Skarner open for TL to try and work their magic with UmTi.
Yeah, I mean, the big question for me is just what style is TL going to bring out? Because we have seen even some of the very best teams bring out old styles, right? You know, when we looked at the Gen G draft, when we look to play-ins day one with PSG going back to all these champions that were nerfed, even Rumble here, going to get picked for Zika. He's one of these champions that was heavily nerfed, and initially people were saying, okay, it's going to be dead. So I'm really curious to see what APA is going to bring out. You know, there's a lot of questions on like, oh, well, can APA actually work well in this meta? He was known as a mage guy. Like, I think it's really weird when I hear people talking about, you know, he can only play AD carries. How are they going to be able to make it work? I'm like, bro, a year ago, everyone was calling him a Ziggs Asol 2 tricks. So like, you know, what is it? So I am going to be interested to see, you know, is he going to be going back to that sort of style? Is he going to be trying to just play meta and play Syndra and play Ori? Is he going to be playing something completely different? But with those first 3 picks, pretty aggressive stuff here. Yeon going to be grabbing the Kai'Sa. We have Jax here, as well as that Skarner. There is some slight potential for it to be flexed around, but the expectation definitely that it is going to be Jax top here for Impact, which is not really the TL style. You know, generally he is just kind of on another meatball. And TL traditionally throughout this year really did play 2 carry comps, you know, almost exclusively. They would play APA and Yeon on carries, and they would kind of just play 3 other champions to enable and set them up. So Impact going to be playing a little bit of a different matchup here, and we'll see if that does work out for them. Where LNG, yeah, they're still playing a couple patches ago. And we'll see if this does work, because this is Tristana mid for Scout. You know, he was excellent on these types of picks. This is going to be the Rumble top as well. So a couple of champions that have been pretty heavily nerfed, but, you know, they definitely can make work.
I know there's a big discussion about scrim bubbles as well since Asia came late to Europe. You know, only a couple of days ago we were just talking about it. And, you know, for Korea, for China, these teams that have come alongside these leagues, we don't know what they've been screaming. We don't know how different it is and who's been lingering in the past, as you were saying.
Who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah, that's right. It develops over the meta. That's why Swiss is so good, because as you start getting into the BO3s, you start getting a closer look as well. Now, I want to continue with draft because I feel like now it's going to show our head of what Weiwei wants to pilot running into this. Skarner, Talia's the ban away, the Maokai denial from TL side as well, giving Weiwei a bit more agency, as we know historically, especially last year on Weibo, it was Weiwei's bread and butter as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and this year for LNG, you know, he was playing a lot of Sejuani, so he definitely can play that facilitative role. Also did play, obviously, a lot of AP junglers, as most junglers around the world did do. So it's just really kind of anyone's guess as to what the team's reads are, because clearly we're having some very different reads. You know, some teams are playing more kind of what's expected, this new age style, but a lot of our top teams and a lot of these Eastern teams are coming out and just saying, you know what, we're just kind of playing the old thing. We had Xiaohu on Lucian, we had Chovy, you know, playing Smolder, we're having Scout playing the Tristana, you know, we're having all these kind of different picks that were considered to be that old style. And we'll have to see if this continues to work. Hey, maybe other teams are going to be reverting back to it. True. And it's going to be really interesting, as Rell would be a pretty obvious pick here, a potential takeaway for CoreJJ, obviously a good pairing with the Kai'Sa. Nautilus has also been banned stand out. Those are kind of the two main pairings that you do generally look for with the Kai'Sa. And Alistar's also banned by TL, so they are pretty limited as far as that kind of support engage pool. It really is those 4 champions that are considered kind of like that top tier of engaged supports.
Yeah.
Of course, there are other ways you can go, but it will be interesting to see what Core wants to bring out here, as they do know what the 2v2 is now, so their one kind of edge is that they could actually pick potentially for that 2v2 lane, and it is going to be Neeko. So this is one of the things that APA was bringing out quite a while ago, and did have some success with. You know, definitely wasn't succeeding in lane, but was more known for his team fights. But he has improved massively over the year. You know, if you haven't watched this guy since like Worlds last year, he had played a handful of games with TL before playoffs. You know, he was a sub in summer last year, and him and Yeon have improved so much since last year's World. So I know they're really looking to try to have a good performance and showcase to the world, hey, we are not those same players we were last year. We really have come here to compete.
I mean, I remember at MSI reflecting, going like the talent on this team is insane. And in fact, watching domestically for LCS, you know that's only grown, you know, with Impact and CoreJJ being such stellar standouts of the LCS end of TL. Having a stronger foundation only makes his team scary. Now, we've hyped up TL. Of course, I got a Zale here, so I'm going to milk it as much as I can. But on the other side for LNG, I mean, solo laners have a bit of prowess here again. You're expecting to be facilitated by Weiwei. This feels about right with GALA and Hung playing, you know, bot-centric duty with the Jhin, with the setup duty that we talked about before. This feels like an LNG comp where, again, you look for those solo laners to be in a good spot so the LNG don't fall behind and look like headless chickens.
And I've got to say, I find Rumble, Sejuani a pretty terrifying 2v2 there, you know, for the Jax, for the Skarner. That's going to be really scary for Impact. Again, he's not really known, you know, as a guy who is kind of that carry player. He does bring them out from time to time, and he can be successful on them. His world skin is a Jax skin, but that was a long time ago, and that's not really how he's kind of, you know, won the MVP this year. That's not really how he's been at the top of the LCS for so long, and even been really competitive internationally. This is a guy that does command a lot of respect when he does go there. So I do think Weiwei and Zika could have a lot of pressure on top side. It's going to be up to UmTi to try to keep Impact safe, and we'll see if this Jax can avoid falling behind, because he'd be useless very, very quickly if he does.
And let's see if TL can bring themselves up the region's merit, because 100 Thieves getting knocked out in play-ins was a big sting to North America. There are high expectations on TL. There are high expectations on FlyQuest. And even though TL didn't win the championship, I think a lot of analysts and a lot of people are saying the same thing. Like, this is still the best team coming out of LCS when you look at the whole of summer and their progression throughout and how dominant they were.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's the same discussion that people are having with Gen G, where a lot of people are still favoring Gen G over HLE, because you're looking at the entirety of the year, the entirety of the split, you know, not just one best of 5 at the end of the day, where FlyQuest did really perform incredibly well and deservedly are the champions, but people still have a lot of expectations here for TL.
Now for the other side for LNG, yes, their power rankings are higher. Thank you to AWS, but LNG were managing to come through in a 3-0 fashion versus Weibo in that regional finals. The biggest thing about LNG for me is that seeing Scout succeed is a big tick. You know, getting him ahead and getting him to a good spot. And he is such a great player, but then again, if LNG don't have that direction, that's when things get a little bit dicey, as I was saying in the lead-up.
Absolutely, and TL are looking like they're going into lane swap, so we can talk a little bit about you know, Yeon and APA and their development. So this is all pro votes that they actually received. You're going back all the way to summer last year, as UmTi.
He's just getting hung at the moment.
But we'll be able to farm that up. APA, in even spring this year, didn't get a single vote, not a single point in all-pro voting, and he was very heavily the favorite and won first team all-pro this split. You know, he has developed massively. Yeon as well, you know, got a couple points, you know, kind of some third place votes and things like that in the past. But these players have just worked so hard and improved so fast that it has really been a big part of why this team got so much better. You know, obviously Core and Impact, they are legends. They were already kind of that basis for the team.
Good basis.
And with APA and Yeon improving around them, it's been something that has allowed this team to really kind of build around that and have that as their focus for these 2 carry comps. As we are seeing Impact here, potentially going to get dove, but Core did base early top and he is running straight down, so we'll see if he's going to get there in time.
And got a level off it as well, of course, Level's very important in the lane swaps, as we've seen not only throughout today, but the course of Worlds. Counting on that.
This
Impact
is a 4v2
level
though.
2.
This is looking rough, and Weiwei's level 3 as well.
Is it going to be enough for Jax? As you said, Core is now shadowing. LNG trying to commit to this dive. Big wave coming through. 4th shot to start off the damage. Goes into turret. Zika hovering top instead. And they say no, Azale. They're like, yep, we're leaving it.
This is actually massive, as they're going to just abandon the dive. So they didn't have confidence that they could actually pull it off with CoreJJ showing up. So Core making a really good move there. This is something that they've been getting so much credit for, in NA especially, but even from a lot of analysts around the world, TL is so adept at playing out these lane swaps. They really know their timings. They are someone that in the LCS was constantly innovating the way in which we played out these lane swaps and really making a lot of other teams in the LCS look kind of dizzy in these situations.
Feeds into the narrative I know you guys have been talking about mainly all year, and also I've been talking to you about particularly that Core is just so smart as well with his map placement in the early game and how they can play around his movements.
I mean, it's really funny when you talk to other pros against Cores. We're going to have to fight here.
It is a big brain one at that to start us off, but Impact gets on out, and GALA and Hung just too strong, getting some damage back on TL.
A lot of pros always talk about how there's always a point in the game where there's this one wave you need to crash, or there's one part where you need to be covered. And they're saying if you're playing against Core, you can guarantee he's in the brush. Like, he's going to be there to mess it up. He's going to be there to really put pressure on you. And he kind of has that I don't know, that aura, I guess, about him where, you know, in the LCS, people really do struggle to play against him, and he always seems to know exactly where to be on the map here. But LNG, you know, we have to talk about them. This is obviously an incredibly stacked team. They are so strong when they are working well. I think their struggles, you know, can come at times, you know, when they're not on the same page, and you know how they're playing out in the team fights. I think Hung can be a little bit up and down, and how he works with Wei, you know, isn't always at the same level as those top support jungle duos in the LPL. But Scout is truly world-class. Zika is truly world-class. GALA is incredible. Like, these guys are some of the best carries around. When they're on their game, they can be nearly unbeatable.
I mean, Zika is now for sure, right? I think this year's been a great development year for him as well. Rough spring, as we already mentioned, for LNG, and I know we're going into the stories, but it's the general lane swap, guys. We've seen the defense from CoreJJ, Hung and unable to stop the back as he tries a shattering strike into Fog of War. Core just backs away, and he looks to go and match top yet again. But my point being that LNG are a surprising team. The fact that they even made it here with this last-minute run, with this pop-off from Scout, with Zika's development, and the fact that if you look at the Weibo 3-0 in regionals, Zika was a real big carry of that series. Things like his Na are incredible, and I think Zika's just matured so much as a player amidst a league where we have incredible, I said we, as I'm LEC now, they have incredible top laners in the league. I said I'm not caught, it's all right.
Yeah, saved it for sure.
Thank you.
LNG has opened up a little lead here, but not too big of a deal. And again, I think, you know, TL's going to be pretty happy to have avoided that early lane state. You know, talking about that rumble as Sejuani into the Jax, that's definitely problematic. And Jhin, obviously a really strong early laner here as well. So definitely happy to be just down a little bit of gold here. And at the end of the day, it's just about 200 gold. It's pretty much just that plate and a little bit of farm. So not really a big deal whatsoever. And TL just going to be looking to play potentially for these grubs here. We'll see if they're going to be looking towards that. As traditionally in the LCS, they have been pretty heavily preferring to go for the grubs instead of down towards Dragon.
As again said earlier before by Dracos and Vetty about the Dragon priority for LPL teams, considering the bot laners they have. Now, grub spawn, Weiwei is up here at the right time. But you can see as well, as the back comes through from the bottom lane of Yeon, TL still aren't going to find themselves into a fight.
Yeah, I mean, TL has push in mid and they have push in top, so they're feeling pretty good. You could see that the clone from APA, he actually just sent it up over towards Raptors and had the recall there, which extends the clone animation, so he had a little bit of scouting. And now Core going to move in. LNG didn't actually get to trade anything on the other side of the map. We'll see if they can look for an angle here on Yeon, though, as they have found him a little bit exposed. Not confident to go for it, though, because I don't actually think that Core was ever spotted leaving lane, so they're not sure if he's in that side brush, and it's going to be TL's looking for their play mid.
Pull the double whammy onto Scout. Pop Blossom down, interrupts the jump, and a Tangle Barbs hits max range. He flashed in a straight line, and that's an easy rush into the wall. TL open up, blood first in mid.
Nicely done from TL, striking first. They're going to try to get Yeon back, but a good killer instinct there. Pulls him to safety after the cleanse is used. The interrupt on the rocket jump, the timing there really nice from APA. Scout a little bit late on the buster shot to try to knock him back to safety. Ends up dying, loses his flash, and has no TP, so it's a bit of a costly death there for him. UmTi, unfortunately, is the one that gets the kill. It's not going to be going over on APA, but still TL going to be really happy about how this game is starting out. And let's see if they can remain calm, play their game, because this in NA was definitely their comfort zone. You know, they are a team that when they get ahead are really adept at taking over enemy space on the map, pressuring jungle camps. And this is something that last year they really started to talk about, where they really wanted to make a transformation and try to turn themselves into that top team. And they talked about, you know, you can be scared of a play going going wrong, or you can just make the correct decision and say, this is the right play to go for. Who cares if it goes wrong? We need to actually believe in our mechanics. We need to believe in our ability to play it out.
Nice.
So they became a team that really was contesting a lot for objectives when they're ahead. They're going to fight you for camps. They're going to fight you at every turn, and just believe that they're going to be able to pull it off. And we'll see if they can do it at this elite level here at Worlds.
It's what would give them a head start here in the Swiss stage. Again, against LNG, we said this was competitive for a big reason. And in this early game, not just that first blood, but the 3 grubs going over to TL as well. Dragon sits there a miss for now as top laners are still bot laners are still top, and Core consistently moving now to match Hung, who is also trying to find an angle around this mid lane.
Yeah, he's grouping up here with Weiwei. Obviously, TL made that first strike with the Leona and that Skarner combo, but APA is getting out to the side there again, just going to be constantly using that clone recall. Does extend the animation, allows you to scout, allows you to kind of check these brushes pretty safely. And Yeon obviously has Core behind him, knows that UmTi is in the area, so they're feeling confident then push back up towards this top side. You're going to be seeing Core move and play with UmTi so heavily. It often means Yeon is having to play, in these 1v1, 1v2 situations, and he's become pretty comfortable in those spots, but it is something that LNG could look to try to capitalize on. If they can get good vision, if they can find Core on a roam, you can sometimes punish those windows. Like right now, as he sits on the ward, Weiwei is already up in this topside jungle as he clears Krugs. It's UmTi also sitting in the pixel brush, so you're right. This could be bad as the setup's there, but pull away. Yeah, and Zika was actually just basing, so if TL overcommit to this, there could be a TP on that play potentially to the tower, drop an equalizer. Actually, excuse me, he did just drop the equalizer to push the wave, so not much of an opportunity to do that.
True.
But doesn't amount in anything. Zika just gets the push in with that equalizer, does go back to base, just kind of using that for tempo. And Scout and APA just farming it out. APA does have that slight farm advantage as well as the assist.
They didn't think he'd stick around. Weiwei just stayed up until he could find the play, and CoreJJ is going to be the victim. GALA gets his first kill of this best of 1. And UmTi now looking for a response play, but it's free turret plating for GALA as he's still engaged on. UmTi wants the angle, but out of range, still slowed down. But you got to ask yourself, what can he find? An Impale is exactly that, but Hung tries to get out. The Shattering Strike down. It won't matter. He disengages an LNG walk away. Now looking at grubs in 30 seconds.
Yeah, not going to be able to really get anything from that. And now with that ulti down, it's a lot harder to actually fight on the grubs. So a good punish on Core as they're going to go re-engage.
UmTi doubling down himself, throws a rock, good damage onto GALA. Maybe that changes the grub play here as there's so much damage. All in from Yeon. GALA has to flash, and I think it definitely changes the landscape of those grubs.
Yeah, that was actually really nice. The extended play there from UmTi, delaying the recall again. They're trying to set themselves up for this grubs play. They know they didn't get a kill with the ulti, so they had to get that extra man advantage there. And now they will be able to have that. UmTi is going to be able to start it up, but will take him some time. They're just spawning now, but TL at the very least are going to get 4. We'll see if LNG can even get over there to contest anything. But with APA having full push mid, with that extra extended play up on the top side, forcing out GALA's flash, this is looking like it's just going to be a 6 grub game here for TL, and they're going to be feeling really happy about that, especially when you consider the fact that Jax is in this game, someone who can play through side lanes very well later on. But even if they do just end up getting the 5, they're going to be pretty happy about that, as Hung's looking mid with Zika.
APA may be in a bit of trouble. They picked the wrong target, though. He tries to cut out first, but drawn back into the Magnet Storm as UmTi tries to carry. Even though he's brought Zika back into turret range, it's not enough damage. They find the mid laner of TL, but they got 5 grubs in the end anyway. Weiwei just has to get the scraps after the play.
Definitely a mistake from APA, though. It was actually a nice backstep on that deadly flourish from the Jhin, but then you need to flash. You need to be able to just spend the summoner, survive in that situation. Does get a little bit greedy. I think thought he could fully outplay it. Then when he actually gets hit by the CC from Rell, realizes, you know what, I'm dead. I'm not going to expend the flash. So correct decision from that spot, but definitely a mistake and a good punish there from LNG, who open up a small gold advantage here. But this is one that is very, very even, and TL, we're going to see if they can make it happen in the team fights where LNG can really make some magic happen here, and GALA now has the early 2 kills.
Remember, Dragon's still sitting there, 12 minutes into the game. First Dragon just ignored, and I want to talk about the other objective that was taken. I think the biggest part is the fact that they denied it from LNG. The fact that you have Rumble on the side lane, you have Scout on this Tristana. No grubs here outside of the 1 is always important to note, especially when a team can push so fast. Now, that's an engage from CoreJJ. It's a Zenith Blade with a Deadly Flourish mixed on in. You add tonic to that, you get a nice drink, but for now, TL just get the push in bot, and defense comes through as LNG hover in case there's more.
Yeah, exactly. They're just going to move over to this Dragon. LNG, no, it's a little bit dicey if you do contest here with GALA having no flash, because Core has his flash back, UmTi has his flash, so it could be scary. APA even held on to his, obviously, in mid lane, so I do think they're likely to just give this one up. But LNG at least poking around, Hung just making sure that there is space for GALA to push out the wave on bot side, and he is going to be able to at least do that. So TL take another objective, LNG just get control of the waves, and we continue forward. It's just been kind of a very calm game. They are going to try to see if there's an angle for Hung.
Good damage, and Skarner does do damage. He has to flash away because the Impale probably gets a kill with the help of General UmTi's support, as well as Yeon nearby.
Yeah, good little bit of pressure here from UmTi. Has been pretty effective in these ganks. You know, did actually force the flash from GALA, helped get the kill in mid lane with that first blood. Now forces another flash down here on bot side. But if he does finish this recall, could be in trouble.
On the CoreJJ is a Glacial Prison, but UmTi's still here. But Shattering Strike stops him mid-wall. TL is stuck in a 3v3 with health bar disadvantage as LNG still hover around. It's a good attempt, but now...
Oh, they're looking for Zika.
It's a cheeky minion. Now that's a sus guy. How did he get here, says Zika, as he's got his flash available on the wrong side of the rift, but a Pop Blossom down means it's an easy kill. Always plan ahead with your teleport is a good reminder for TL's second kill.
Nicely done by APA. Gets up towards the top side. UmTi's able to cover the attack on bot side there from Weiwei. You know, Core wanted to go for the re-engage onto Hung and might have been able to kill him if that Zenith play connected. Who knows? It would have been a pretty close fight, I think, but I wasn't quite able to connect it. But they do make a play on the top side. Impact joining up there with APA, punishing Zika, and wasn't able to really get much of an advantage at all with this early rumble. Obviously can still be a strong team fight pick, but Impact on the Jax going to be feeling so good about his spot. Has the 5 grubs here, is going to be able to outscale this rumble pretty heavily in the 1v1.
Oh yeah.
And that could be problematic for LNG later on if Zika gets put into a spot where he's just forced to group and, you know, Impact can kind of have his run in the side lane.
But Herald has spawned and LNG are looking their eyes towards it. It's a MasterCard lane economy snapshot. It's going to show you this early game is a little bit tilted. GALA in a good spot, but also APA in a great spot considering the early gank that came through from UmTi. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Gold is quite even here. Remembering the grub's the only big advantage with the Dragon on top.
And APA is going a pretty aggressive build here. He did go Storm Surge, so we'll see if he's just going Storm Surge Ludens, which is kind of, you know, the popular build right now on this patch. But a lot of Neeko players, you know, do go different builds, you know, Proto Belt, you know, things like that. So we'll see where he is going to play.
Turret going as well, by the way.
LNG are able to take that top lane turret, but TL obviously pushing mid and also are able to grab that tower very likely on the bottom side as Yeon is down there.
Weiwei sends out the prison, but it's a good kite away. It's only a clone in the end from APA.
Yeah, Yeon's going to get solo gold here on this bot lane tower, so it is going to be a trade with obviously first tower going to LNG, but all of the gold getting isolated on Yeon is a really good thing for the TL AD carry, who they do have so much faith in at this point.
I mean, again, you talked about him being a bit more stable coming into summer as well, and I love the story, especially when you're against such veterans, when you're with such veterans, I should say. That has a chance to be an insane North American, or, you know, let's just call it like Western bottom lane.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
In the next couple of years, even now, right?
Yeah, I know Yeon has improved a lot, and we'll see. As it's going to be another flash force there by UmTi, but UmTi is going to be in some trouble.
He is in no man's land, but he won't get pulled out of the wall, so he drifts his way out. TL are still thinking about the engage as Zenith Blade turns it on its head. Solar Flare onto GALA on the back. Pop Blossom is no one. GALA flashes away and Hung disengages rather, resets up the equalizer, hurting as well, separating TL from one another, and Zika just lets the flamethrower unleash. LNG know they've got them on the run, and TL can't stay and can't stick around any further.
Yeah, I can't find anyone with that ultimate, as GALA was able to flash out. The earlier ultimate from Skarner also forced a flash from Zika, so they do get some summoners, but as a result, LNG dodge those big team fight ultis and are able to win out pretty massively because Scout wasn't even there. So Scout's taking the bot lane tier 1. They're going to crash the Herald into mid. They're likely going to get both of these towers, and that is going to open up a significant advantage for LNG. TL really overcommitting in that top side there to try to go for this fight. I mean, Impact even TP'd in, and he couldn't even really join. If he just stayed down towards bot side and covered, it wouldn't have been that much of a loss to just have that one kill given over for a couple of flashes. But now TL find themselves out of nowhere at a 2.5k gold lead.
Thank you,
excuse me.
It's huge, right? But I think we're talking backstage about the difference of like some of these Eastern teams, when you make one mistake against them, some of the better teams, their ability to punish is huge.
Yeah.
And the quickness to punish as well, I think is another big factor. They move to mid, they get bot as well. 3 outer turrets now taken by LNG to move them into a 2k gold lead.
And I mean, the real question now for TL is the only thing you got from that is some flashes, right? So now you have to be able to punish GALA. Now you have to be able to punish Zika and have something come from that fight. Otherwise, it's a complete loss because LNG just played the map. You know, they're able to get these towers. They win out on the fight, so they're feeling so good about their position. And we'll see if TL can make anything happen with those slight advantages, with those summoners that they were able to force. But it's going to be tough because obviously there's no flash on APA or UmTi either. Core in a spot here could be dangerous.
He engaged onto that. He's now used his solar flare, but Hung and Zika are the ones in trouble. UmTi rams him in, but he doesn't get until the Impale brings it back. Locked in place. Zika is a free target for Yeon to get a kill. Lower health bars on the jungler here, but TL find a pick right before the dragon.
Yeah, they're able to get that pick. That's pretty big. UmTi, I thought, was actually going to drive him to safety there for a second. That got a little bit dicey.
Sketchy.
And then as Yeon was pushing forward, he had to actually walk on the equalizer to finish off the kill. So not as clean as TL would like. Scout is coming. Impact also here on the flank. LNG looking like they potentially want to keep fighting this because Zika's going to be up in 12 seconds and he has TP, so they'll have a massive HP advantage if they can make this time.
Impact has everything available though. Curtain Call is brought into the forefront as TL's top laner thinks of an angle himself, but CoreJJ has to absorb the bullet onto the back line. No, it's going over to TL, the dragon, but they're caught in the middle. The TP bringing Zika back in as you labeled before as UmTi drives out of there. TL looking for the grand escape, but Impact's now lost his team. He's behind enemy lines, but not for much longer as LNG look for another chase down. Yeon is so low. CoreJJ in kill range as well. He'll sacrifice his life, giving another kill over for the dragon that makes 2. LNG gets some gold back.
Honestly, not that bad though, because they're going to get the mid lane tier 1 as well. So they do get something back here, but we'll see if Scout can actually find a kill. He TP'd deep to try to look for APA, not able to find it. So TL do get the dragon here. They are winning the objective game a little bit, but LNG maintaining that about 2,000 gold lead has closed itself down a little bit. But this was honestly really well played by LNG to just buy time because they knew that they had the HP advantage. As soon as Zika's going to be rejoining the fight, it's going to be a 1-5v5 for them, no problem. So TL just had to focus down on that dragon, but the Jhin ult bought so much time and created so much chaos for TL, so they couldn't really just kind of fully focus on what they wanted to do, killing that dragon and getting out. It allows them to catch up, kill Impact, and also Core on the exit here. And Impact, you know, had that strong early game, but really has not made any difference in the game thus far. You know, hasn't been able to put much pressure on the side lanes, hasn't really been able to find a way in these 5v5s. So he's got to be careful because, you know, if you do spend too much time as grouping as Jax and you aren't able to really make a big difference, then you're not getting that gold, right? And this is one of the things that I've always kind of had as a criticism of Impact when he plays carries, because he is such a selfless player, which is great when you're playing tanks and playing that supportive style.
Oh, yeah.
But when you put yourself on a carry, you need to be greedy. You need to play for yourself, put yourself in a position to win, play for your goal, play for your lane. And sometimes I do think he overgroups. He plays towards those tank tendencies, which can really hurt him on a champion like this.
And especially in a game against Zika. Last year, we were talking about Zika's ability to be flexible, kind of a mix between 369 and Bin. And I think he's become a lot better at carries, but he's still got that selfless style as well. He's still very flexible as a player, even on things like Rumble. It's a nice comparison here as we set TL up for the potential Baron. It's a setup of picks with a deadly flourish on the other side, and it is a miss in the end.
Yeah, the Skarner ult not able to connect there. Thought he might have had an angle to get Scout, goes for it, does end up missing. So now that's kind of TL's turn, so to speak, over on the map. It's going to be LNG who are going to be able to move in, take some vision, potentially clear out some of these wards around the Baron that TL does have. We see Impact down towards that bot lane, going to be looking to push that wave up here, try to put on a little bit of pressure, but obviously TL don't have a lot of deep vision, so he does have that one pink ward that's a little bit shallow and one ward over behind the enemy wolves, which is going to keep him somewhat safe and kind of give him that confidence. He also knows, of course, that LNG are clearing out the vision over here, so APA going to look for a potential angle, but nothing there just yet. We'll see if they can try to find Hung.
He can be a ward. He can be a control ward. He's now adapted. And also APA, he's got a rocket belt as well as his flash available. And I know when Neeko's in the meta, we always take account of the flash being one of the most important tools to angle yourself, as we saw earlier on. Players like Faker pulling it out and almost clutching a win.
Yeah, exactly, right? And we saw kind of both sides of it. We saw Faker have some incredible engages, but if you do swing and you miss, right, if they're able to flash out, you don't really have much after it. It is kind of that one-punch team fight.
Yeah.
So it's really tough because, yeah, you have the flash, you have the rocket belt, but you have to be so on point with your engages because if you go in for that big combo, they flash out of it, it can just be a straight-up lost team fight unless you are really creating enough chaos that the rest of your team is able to get that work done. So that's where he has to coordinate with UmTi, with Impact, so that even if they're flashing out of that Neeko ultimate, they're flashing into the waiting arms of the Skarner, of the Jax. Otherwise, things definitely could look bad for them here because LNG has a lot of damage, a lot of consistent damage here as well as TL. They don't spot that ward, so LNG have full info on this, but they're not reacting.
Scout also just backed, and his teleport's not up and available yet.
They just were not reacting at all. They're just standing there on the bot side.
LNG,
it's gone.
There's a ward that you see the Baron.
That was bizarre.
What in the OME was that? LNG just lost Baron, and TL just snuck it.
Yeah, I mean, this is something TL did a lot in the LCS, but they had a ward that was on it. They reacted so slowly. I guess they just decided, you know what? Checkmate, you got us. Like, they thought they couldn't get there in time or something, but that was really, really weird because it was such a delayed reaction from LNG. They see them over by the Baron. They don't actually end up moving. I want to see that replay because I'm so curious. Like, I assume that ward gave them full vision, but maybe there's somehow the TL was only on the bottom side of the pit, and like, because there are some weird wards on the map where they don't give you the vision where you think they would.
Observer toggled vision and showed us, you know, LNG's viewpoint. I'm so confused.
Yeah. Well, LNG do give up the Baron. TL pulling that gold back to pretty much even here, and now you have 5 grubs on Impact. You have Scout, though, playing towards Zika, which is something that he did so much in the LPL. They love to overload these side lanes with both their solo laners to look for picks. We'll see if Scout commits to this. They don't see Scout anywhere, so Impact should have an idea that this could be going on. He just needs to slow play, allow TL to grab the dragon here, don't give an angle, and that's exactly what he's doing. Now once Scout shows in mid, Impact can start to push forward once again here, and we'll see if TL can make it happen as Zika's going back to base and preparing for a potential TP.
No, TP wards are deep, though. There's only one right in front of the dragon here if TL overextend into the enemy jungle. So LNG have that angle as Zika now just receives the next wave. As you see, Scout has already walked down, and for this third dragon, I will say giving it to TL, though, opens up a lot of doors in this game.
Well, look at mid lane. This is the problem, is LNG have kind of overcommitted to this bot side.
True.
They lost control of mid lane, so TL are going to say, yeah, go for it. Great, you take the dragon. We could potentially go for this tier 2 mid. And now Impact's coming from below. They're going to look for the fight. Here comes Neeko.
Remember, Yeon as well can find the angle. As you said, that's only a clone. Impact has already teleported in, but it's a crushing blow. Impact finds a one-man as the Pop Blossom on 2 on the edge is good, but Hung keeps him at bay. Zika just runs through the rest of them with a good old g'day as he burns them down. CoreJJ's next. You can see Hung on this Rell played such a big role, and TL not getting the perfect fight we wanted that we talked about moments ago cost them dearly.
Yeah, LNG win the fight there. I want to see that one more time because it looked like APA fully whiffed on the ulti. I think he was trying to flash over the fat wall there to actually get back onto GALA, who Impact was able to force the flash out from. You know, GALA's flashing away. He thought he was going to get over the wall here. Let's watch this one more time because he's coming in from above. The idea very clearly is Impact's going to come from below, push them up into the waiting arms of the Neeko here. But let's watch APA one more time as he's looking for the angle here. And yeah, that flash, I mean, he gets nothing, right? Like, absolutely nothing there.
That's what he did, yeah.
No, so an absolute fail flash there from APA. Not the debut he wanted on the world stage. This guy has improved monumentally, but obviously feeling the pressure here. Didn't have a good showing at Worlds last year.
Yep.
And that is tough because that's the kind of fight, and you can see the stress on the coach's face there. Spawn and Rainover, they know it. That could have been the game-deciding fight. Like, they were in such a good position. If you crush that fight, as they probably should have with Neeko on the flank, that could be a massive gold lead. That could put them in a position to just take the whole game, and instead, it's a whiffed engage there from APA. It falls flat on his face, and LNG definitely take advantage of it.
So close. Again, no, only by an inch it really feels like, and again, timing a big factor there, but as it hurts to watch, you can look at LNG on the other side and see what they got from it. They stopped the dragon stacking. It's not game-defining yet, but Zika picking up so many more resources now. He's also got to seek his armor guard to run him into the fight with a fully completed second item here. So here we go. TL just going to try and push through mid as LNG look for another angle or another afterthought.
And that being said, you know, at the end of the day, the gold is still very even. You know, TL is still in this game. Definitely a failed fight there, and one that TL are going to want back, APA especially. But they need to stay calm. They need to be able to just kind of realize, you know what? The game is still in our hands. We still have an ability to win this one. We'll see if they are going to be able to do it, as Scout is just playing so heavily through side lanes, creating more and more of an advantage. He's quietly opened up 1,000 gold here over APA. And Impact has not been spending as much time in those side lanes, so, you know, hasn't gotten quite as strong as he would like to get, though he is in quite a good spot here. Has the Thunder Sky, has a Triforce, likely working towards a Randuin's next against the AAAA. Makes a lot of sense. You can see the Randuin's already completed there on UmTi as well, as GALA has delayed his armor pen, so Last Whisper going to be coming in fourth for him. But he could struggle with some of these frontliners until that is completed.
But at least some of the flies like Yeon and APA are going to be destroyed by GALA's damage, as had a bit of a lead earlier on. He was in a decent spot, but I shouldn't say. Yeon has still been keeping up. 3 items for this Kai'Sa as well. And I am looking at Scout, as you mentioned. We do have some healing cut to be used against TL in this game. Specifically, not sure as Impale goes golden and Zika just avoids, but a Tangle Barbs as well. Equalizes down. Zika has his own time to spare, but he's not dead yet. He's not dead. Scout teleported in, sends him skyward, but GALA's ulti tags on the back end. APA lucky to be alive as Yeon as well. These two carries are too low. TL need to scram, but he can't get away. That's UmTi stuck in the ground as LNG just take him out for free.
Yeah, that's awful. There was a great equalizer from Zika to buy some time, and TL just kind of panicked and just tried to run for it there. It looked like they thought someone else is going to finish it off, surely, but no one else was able to stay and finish it off, and now Core could die. This could be Baron, potentially. Is this going to be spawning soon?
It's a permafrost. It's an easy kill. Nice Magnet Storm from Hung. GALA picks it up, and as you said, that Baron is up in 20 seconds, and there's an inner turret with a wave down on the bot side as well to think about.
Yeah, I mean, Zika played that really well. The Stasis used the Seekers there to immune the Skarner ult, buys time, did have that root timed well from APA, but they just didn't have the damage to actually fully burst him out.
Yep.
They commit heavily to it, and they're all kind of just roasting, eating the equalizer to try to finish him off. They're getting so low, they realize that LNG is coming in with the reinforcements, and no one had the confidence to actually stay in and try to finish him there before they did. And hey, maybe if they stay, they all die.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out. It's a great play from Zika. LNG get even more. It doesn't look like they're going to try to set up for any sort of an early Baron push, though. So will just be another kill and a slight gold advantage here to LNG. It's 2.5k, which obviously isn't nothing, but that's the same gold lead they had when they took 2 towers off that play like 10 minutes ago. So really, it's all down to the execution, and in these last couple fights, TL just has not had it.
And if they go wrong, again, we talked about Scout, what he can do inside, but for now, he's joined the team. Impale didn't hit. General, what are we doing? How can you lead the troops like that? As LNG converge on his position, and he'll be taken out. 0-7 to that guy for 40 seconds, while Baron's up in a 5 versus 4.
Yeah, TL really failing on some of these execution plays. They're looking very nervous, and now LNG are on the Baron. APA does have an angle here on a potential flank, but so does Hung below. Yeon gonna spot him now.
CoreJJ is gonna get whacked for a few to start it off. A good shattering strike. The equalizer laid perfectly to bear. CoreJJ's ticking down. APA finally hits an ulti though, but the Magnet Storm is already back up. Can they get the damage down? You know the answer's no when Scout is hitting around, but Impact buys some time against these carries. He picked up a triple, but GALA and Scout are still standing, and that's all that matters as the ace blows them over.
Yeah, it's a nice try there for TL. They are obviously down a man, but in the 4v5, they do get 3 for 4 there. 3 kills going over onto Impact. Scout and GALA can't do the Baron. They know that UmTi's respawning, so they're just going to run down and take the Dragon here, and the game will continue. Just about that 3,000 gold lead. Finally, APA finding a good engage on this angle, but Zika's equalizers have been so perfect, it feels like, in these fights and in these situations. The engage there from APA, really nice. Yeon's able to get into the back line and try to really get some damage down, but he just gets focused down by Scout and GALA. Like, yes, you found a multi-man engage, but the 2 key carries were not touched, and that's why LNG was always going to win that fight. And you can see the frustration from UmTi that's very likely off of the missed ulti from before he died. He knows, you know, they are in a spot where they can win this game. They just have to execute, but they're failing to do so, and that's obviously really weighing on them.
And, you know, coming into this game, I was like, well, I feel like UmTi, for me, from what I've watched, especially in that finals, was the weak portion. I feel like Inspired very much out-jungled him. But coming into this game, we have seen some really aggressive early play that's been great in his name. I think the Skarner pick has done a lot. It's just some of these last few fights haven't come through. TL haven't been able to execute all the angles that we talked about. But there's still hope here. And the hope in for NA is not me glazing them. No, they're not a donut here. They're 3k down into the depths, but they're not out of this yet as TL try and set up to see if LNG start this Baron.
Yeah, still, it's about a 2,000, a little bit over 2.5k gold lead. You know, it really doesn't matter at this point. We'll see if Impact can get things done because he is really strong. It's a death cap done for APA, so if he hits that engage, he can 100-0 these players, and he is getting into the backline. GALA doesn't see him.
Until now, Pop Blossom there, he flashes over the wall. He reacts in time, and it feels like at the edge, he could see that little minion walking towards him as Impact in the permafrost range, but LNG have walked away.
So they force the flash, but again, this is the weakness here of champions that are so ulti-reliant. You force the flash, but now you can't do anything until your ulti really is back up. So LNG are going to probably try to pressure the Baron. They know there's not that much threat from TL without the Neeko ultimate here, so TL do spot it. We'll see if they can find a way to make this fight happen, missing that Neeko ult.
Zika is coming in. He's just walked from mid-wave as simply a clone for now. It takes the bait of LNG as Impact walks into the pit at 4k. Weiwei thinks about flipping the game, and classic LPL style in front of the pit. He does flip for the Baron. It goes goes to LNG. The curtain call sits over the wall and now looks for new targets as Yeon has to get out of there. He's getting fried. He walks from the last 4 shot. That's good. But Zika now walking in after overheating himself, and LNG as a 5-stack. See blood. It's good burst damage here from APA off the side, and Yeon helps with that, but it hasn't stopped here. LNG just want that little tick, but for Baron, they still walk out not losing anything, even though they couldn't chase TL down. That looked like free fishing.
Yeah, this is just so well done here by LNG, just recognizing, yes, you just lost your flash, but who cares? Neeko doesn't have ult. Neeko has no threat right now. Let's force the Baron. They do it expertly. You know, you call it a flip, but really it wasn't, because Scout just buster shots UmTi away as he's trying to get into the pit. The timing was very good. LNG execute really well on the play, showing their skill here on the world stage. GALA and Scout are really opening up massive advantages here, and TL, at this point, you are 1 fight away from losing the game. You have got to be on point. They've got to find a way to punish these missing flashes, and as a result, they're going to try to overload the side lane here. They're going to look for Scout. Remember, he has no cleanse. If they can land the CC, they can get him.
Minions, Pop Blossom, he did. He did his homework, but he has to flush away from UmTi while the turret goes down regardless, so an attempt made again.
Yep, so at least they didn't commit flashes from TL. It's a good move towards the side lane. They do take down a tier 2 early, and they're going to be able to recall in time to likely try to defend, you know, their inhibitor. They're obviously, we're always going to lose this tower here, but Yeon with Core on the side, they got to start clearing out this wave if they can. LNG could try to push the tempo here. They're going to go.
They're going to continue forward. As you said, the turret's going to turn into mincemeat. It's CoreJJ locked on in. He turns it into a Zenith blade because he can only engage, but GALA takes him downtown. A 4th shot into the ground as UmTi tries to get it once again. It is support for now, but TL have lost too much damage on their jungler again. A Jhin ulti, easy as that, as APA almost gets clipped on the side. It's Zika who goes golden, buys time. It ticks over anyway, and that makes a double hit for GALA. LNG in front of the Nexus turret at 34 minutes. Yes, it was back and forth for a while. Yes, TL had some options, but LNG remained valiant. And in their first game of Worlds here on the Swiss stage, the LPL 3rd seed as they run into Impact and burn down the rest will take their first win to lead them 1-0.
Well done by LNG. Scout and GALA standing strong here for the LPL, for LNG. Really able to take over this game. TL had their opportunities, but failed to execute on them in some key moments here. This is a game they're really going to want back. You don't get a lot of chances at the world stage to take down teams like LNG. They had one here today, but they couldn't quite execute on it. LNG just better in those key moments, recognizing when TL was weak and punishing them heavily.
Well, a lot of questions about LNG, but at least some answers in their opening day here as they take their bow for their win. We're going to throw it back to the analyst desk to break down that game.
Indeed, we will. I think I have probably 2 very frustrated LCS analysts flanking me, because congratulations to LNG for winning that game, but it did really feel like Team Liquid, you know, at many points in this game, had the possibility to blow up their gold lead, I think.
I'm depressed, Shocks.
Yeah, me too, bro.
You know, give me some of that popcorn, please.
I don't want any popcorn. I don't have an appetite right now. I mean, it was close.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You definitely want to come away with the win here, but ultimately, as we said with the format beforehand, lose to 3 unique teams to be eliminated, beat 3 unique teams to move on to the next round.
Yeah.
So as long as they don't over-tilt off this, I think there were some positive signs.
What were they?
So positive signs would be, I think they played the early game pretty well. I think they were in a pretty strong position, specifically the moment when APA failed his flash over the wall and Yeon went in as if that was going to land. They make that fight work. They're on sole point, and maybe they win the game. And things went bad after that, but that's the moment I'd like them to focus on.
I gotta say, I was really nervous for LNG in the beginning. That looked like spring split. LNG coming into this, I see Scout kind of having an iffy one on Tristana in the mid lane, where he gets caught off guard. No buff on the Neeko also with the W. Fail flashes afterwards and dies. I thought LNG were just gonna do the classic where they tilt off the face of the earth and they never come back into it.
He had to get it out of his system.
Yeah, he did.
And I apologize for those watching. I'm full cope right now.
So?
Like, full cope.
That's allowed.
They definitely tilted in that game. I'd say LNG definitely didn't. I think Scout looked fine, even if Trist. We didn't think we'd see that much Trist after we saw him playing and then it failed. But it looks like these picks that we thought were out of the meta and nerfed
are still in the meta.
LPL LCK teams love them.
Yeah, and on top of that, there were a few moments, even just one moment on top side where Kai'Sa was able to tag. I think it was Jhin ultis, lost the mana, so she couldn't get the kill. So there were a lot of like tit-for-tat moments where anything could have meant for a larger advantage for Team Liquid.
Yeah, but Scout comes out on top, and he's in the Verizon post-game interview.
we're back to this side of the stage for LNG's first victory here at the World Swiss stage, and I have Scout with me. Thank you so much for joining me. Congrats on making it to Worlds. I know the road was not easy for you. You actually found out recently that you were going to be able to make it. How much of an impact did it have on you personally, but also for the rest of the prep with the rest of the team, the fact that you came last minute here?
那首先恭喜你们拿下了本局比赛的胜利。那想问到 Scout 选手，可能在此前呢，关于你本人能否参加世界赛，有一些遇到了一些小问题，想问一下这个方面对你个人或者说对于整个队伍其他会不会有一点影响，以及是你们在克服了这个问题之后，现在又感觉怎么样？
就不知道有没有影响到其他队员吧，就可能对于这些的话也还好吧，然后就最终还是来到了世界赛嘛，所以要一副全力吧。
So actually, I have no idea the impact on the other teammates, but for me, it's just fine. But finally, eventually, I came here. Since I'm here for Worlds, I'm going to strive for it and go all out for it.
We're just happy that you could make it in the end. That's just what matters. And talking about LNG and your run, last year in Korea, you made it to quarterfinals, but no more. What makes you sure that this year is going to be different, especially given the fact that it's almost the same team, except Weiwei in the jungle?
那在去年的时候，在韩国你们是进到了 quarterfinals， 但是没有能够再往前一步。今年的这一个 LNG， 特别是在打野位置上有微微选手加入了，所以你觉得今年这一支 LNG 会有哪些不一样吗？
就可能跟去年比的话，可能还是差不多吧。然后我们的打法就可能也还是差不多的。然后就看我们前期打得怎么样吧。
So I think it's quite similar to the last year's LNG in terms of our play style, but it all comes down or depends on the early game.
All right, well, thinking about LNG at Worlds, I know there's always huge expectations when it comes to LPL teams in general. Where would you guys rank yourself at Worlds right now?
那最后一个问题，其实到现在每次来到世界赛上，大家对于 LPL 的队伍都会充满期待。想问一下 Scout 的选手，你觉得 LNG 现在的整个实力水平是怎么样的？
可能就还是在 LPL 赛当中就比较强的队吧。然后每年的 LPL 都比较有希望吧。
I feel like LPL has always been prospective coming to the World's Championship.
All right, well, we'll see how you guys can do. Thank you so much, Christina, for the translation. Scout, amazing to have you at Worlds once again. Thank you for the interview. And that's all for us here on this side of the stage.
Thank you so much. I can assume it was incredibly stressful. Maybe that's why, as to GV's point, they reverted a little bit to kind of spring LNG and the tendencies. Maybe they're catching up a bit, catching their groove. And despite this being a very, very close game for TL, you gotta hope that if things go the way they want, and I'm not saying they have been good the entire year in LPL, even, you know, sometimes in playoffs, you will not have seen what you've wanted, but if Scout is firing on all cylinders, if Zika has a breakout tournament, which he could be on track to show,
absolutely,
there is a lot of promise, but the competition is stiff.
It is, but I don't think LNG is the only team that's kind of shown this. We've already seen it from a lot of the Asian teams. I think as soon as we go into the second round of Swiss, we'll definitely see a much more defined meta as well, and probably also just the teams being a bit more cohesive. But yeah, LNG, I think they're very happy with the way this game played, because the early game did not look good for them. The only reason they kind of came back was because TL went for a massive overstep here in the enemy jungle.
They did, and this is also while Scout is bot lane pushing on Tristana, so it was a 5v4 where they were the ones that lost. So not only did they lose the gold, they lost a massive amount of tempo on this play.
Yeah, there was a few times in which they had actually looked for a play in the jungle, and even if they ended up losing flash for it, I mean, getting a flash off of the Jhin, they can't really make a repeat play happening afterwards. So to your point, yes, across the map, LNG is getting gold back for themselves. So that's where the gold advantage was coming in there for them.
And a question to you in terms of TL, when they do fall behind a little or they don't have kind of like complete control of the game in the LCS this year, do you feel like they made macro mistakes or over-push mistakes like this, or is this out of character?
Here's what I think.
I'm ready for it.
With Team Liquid.
I'm ready for it.
At MSI,
yes,
they were worse but less nervous. Here, they are better but nervier. So they've actually improved, but they put so much pressure on themselves that they choked. Like they just, those are not moves you see from them normally, but the fact that they were in the position to throw those moments actually shows a level of improvement. So it's a matter of getting their head right.
Your glass half full Rell is
He's
so
got
so
away
That was a
good.
galactic.
So good.
That was insane.
Oh my God.
The reach and wraparound. But honestly,
No, but I love it.
it's great. I believe now. There it is. But yes, there were so many moments that people from the community will stick to. Of course, the fail flash from the Neeko, the play that happened in the enemy side jungle, the ultimate that clearly UmTi was frustrated with. But if you look towards the LNG side, there's a lot to be excited about because that was them with the least amount of practice. Getting a game like that, and Zika, to your point, his Rumble ultis were game-changing and created a lot of space.
They were. Also, the Jhin was really good, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, LNG was able to out-team fight Team Liquid at the Dragon to take control, and this is one where GALA, I think, goes pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has a nice cleanse just to get out of it immediately, flash away from the Counter-Strike after. Unfortunate ultimate from APA, because TL has done a great job. They got GALA's cleanse, they got his flash,
He's
and the last thing just couldn't connect, but that's where the rest of LNG is already in position where GALA has bought them so much space. They've used so much of their abilities to try and get on the Jhin that when the rest of LNG finally comes around, it's over.
Did you just say that just because I thought it was another replay? And
I mean, totally, but I was trying to not...
He's trying to cover for us.
I'm trying to make sure that you knew exactly
that
what you were
ADC
saying.
is
Just making
buying
sure.
space. It's crazy. He's doing great in his grave. Sick. Anyways, oof, you know it's a long day. But
We have 3 more games.
we do. And on the cope side, 1 game sample size. Who cares?
Yeah.
True.
And
Right?
listen, that wasn't even North America's #1 seed.
Exactly. FlyQuest is playing later.
And we haven't even seen EU's #1 seed. Both NA and EU are going to get wins today, Shocks.
Yes, and
I guarantee it.
LCS's #1 seed has never lost a game. Wait.
Number
That
was #3 seed.
Yeah,
That was the
exactly,
#3
exactly.
seed. Yeah,
So,
yeah. But we have as well. It's all good. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. I think we have 3 more games to come. So that's very exciting. Grab a snack as well. We have some popcorn. I'm going to commiserate a little bit with my LCS colleagues because things aren't going good for us. But we'll see you right back here in a jiffy.
We're going to win soon. Any minute now.
Before we do it, guys, take a look at the crowd, pick out some faces, make sure that you're enjoying the environment. This is actually a beautiful stage. The lights are much better here. Should be really, really comfortable playing, yeah?
Yep. Those going down now, okay? I'm coming.
Please jump, please. Come to Kai'Sa.
No flash, no jump.
Yeah, I think we got it.
No place, no jump.
LNG remained valiant, and in their first game of World here on the Swiss stage, the LPL 3rd seed as they run into Impact and burn down the rest will take their first win to lead them 1-0.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good.